You were taught to chase, to run after your dreams like they're somewhere far away, just out of reach. Make vision boards, repeat affirmations, push harder, manifest faster. You were told the more you want it, the more effort you give, the closer you'll get. But what if the chase itself is the very thing that's keeping you misaligned? What if manifestation isn't about running harder, but about learning to stop, to get still, to tune? Stop chasing. Start tuning your frequency. It's not about begging the universe for what you want. It's about becoming the version of you the universe already recognizes. And that's a very different vibration. This isn't just theory. It's something you'll see clearly in the story of someone who tried everything and still felt lost. Not because she wasn't working hard, but because she was chasing from the wrong signal. Her name is Emma. For years, Emma was chasing her dream life with all the tools she was told would work. She worked hard, stayed positive, did all the right things. Every morning she'd journal, "I am abundant." Every night she'd fall asleep visualizing her future self free, fulfilled, loved. But nothing changed. Her job still drained her. Her apartment still felt tight and temporary. Her heart still whispered, "Why isn't it working?" Emma wasn't broken. She was simply caught in the flawed chase, the illusion that says you have to force alignment instead of feel it. And that realization, it became the moment everything began to shift. Emma began to question everything. If she was doing all the right things, why wasn't anything shifting? That's when she came across an idea that changed her entire perspective frequency. She read that the universe isn't responding to your words or your wishes. It's responding to your signal. Not what you say you want, but what you actually radiate. And that signal, it's not just your thoughts. It's the emotions you feel when no one's watching. It's the stories you tell yourself before falling asleep. It's the energy in your body when you walk into a room. That's what the quantum field receives. Not your vision board, not your "I am abundant" mantra, but the hum of your nervous system, the rhythm of your breath, the quality of your presence. In quantum mechanics, reality isn't fixed. It's a field of infinite possibilities, waves of potential that only collapse into form when observed. But observation isn't just about looking with your eyes. It's about what you're being, what you're embodying, what you're energetically aligned with. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this your electromagnetic signature, a unique blend of thought and emotion that you broadcast into the quantum field in every moment. Your thoughts carry an electric charge. Your emotions create a magnetic pull. Together, they shape your signal, and your signal shapes your reality. Emma began to see that while she was visualizing abundance, her body was still broadcasting fear. Every time she checked her bank account, her stomach tightened. Every time she looked at her vision board, a part of her whispered, "It's not real." Her mouth said, "I am love." But her breath was shallow, her heart guarded. She wasn't tuned to the frequency of her dream life. She was tuned to the frequency of lack, of waiting, of hoping it might happen someday. And the field mirrored that. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to hope, it responds to coherence. So Emma stopped trying to attract her dream life. She started becoming a match for it. Not by pretending, not by forcing, but by tuning. Quietly, gently, she asked herself, what version of me already lives the life I long for? And how does she move, think, speak, breathe? Not someday, but now. Then, she took one small step in that direction. She didn't need the whole staircase. just the first honest, vibrationally aligned step. Emma's first step wasn't dramatic. She didn't quit her job or move to a new city. She simply chose presence. Each morning, instead of grabbing her phone and bracing for the day, she'd sit for 5 quiet minutes and breathe. She'd ask, not, what do I want to achieve today, but who am I becoming today? She let her breath guide her, slower, deeper. She imagined the version of herself who already felt secure, supported, and free. Not because she had everything figured out, but because she trusted the version of her that did. Then she acted from that place, even in the smallest ways, answering emails with calm instead of panic, making her morning coffee with gratitude instead of rush, walking to work with her head held slightly higher. These were micro shifts, but they were honest. And honesty is frequency. It wasn't always easy. Her old patterns fought back. Her mind would whisper, "This is silly. Where's the proof?" But Emma began to understand something subtle and powerful. The field doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to coherence. Coherence means alignment when your thoughts, emotions, and actions all speak the same language. Most people think they're manifesting when they repeat affirmations or visualize a goal, but if their body is tight with anxiety, if their heart is full of doubt, if their actions come from fear, then their signal is fractured. That's static. And the universe doesn't tune into static. So Emma made coherence her quiet practice. If she thought a thought, she paused to feel if it was true in her body. If it wasn't, she didn't force it, she retuned gently. She breathed deeper. She softened her shoulders. She let go of needing to get it right, and focused instead on becoming real. And slowly, the inner noise began to fade. She felt lighter, not because her circumstances changed overnight, but because her frequency did. And the quantum field, ever listening, began to respond. Emma began to notice how her environment was holding the old version of her in place. The clutter on her kitchen counter, the worn-out vision board with images that now felt like a distant taunt. The sticky notes full of forced affirmations, it all carried the frequency of effort, not ease. So she cleared space. She let go of what no longer felt aligned. She donated clothes that belonged to a past self she had outgrown. She rearranged her apartment, not to impress anyone, but to feel more expansive, more true. Each object she kept had to reflect where she was going, not where she had been. She also became more aware of her words. At first, almost every sentence was laced with doubt. I'll never afford that. Things never work out for me. These phrases had become automatic, like background noise in her life. So she started to catch them, not with shame, but with gentleness. She would pause, take a breath, and replace them with softer truths. Not fake positivity, but frequencies of movement. I'm figuring it out. This is new for me, but I'm learning. Words, she realized, were like tuning knobs, and the way she spoke was either reinforcing the past or inviting in the future. Then came the body. Her shoulders had been locked in tension for years. Her breath often sat high in her chest, shallow and quick. Survival had trained her nervous system to stay alert, to expect the worst, but tuning meant showing the body it was safe to soften. She practiced breath coherence slow, rhythmic breathing that calmed her system and sent a new message to the field. I'm okay now, not someday, not when everything looks perfect, but now, because presence is its own frequency. Most people wait for a big change to feel different. But Emma was learning that feeling different, feeling tuned, was what opened the door to big change. It wasn't the grand gestures that shifted her life. It was the quiet, deliberate choices made in ordinary moments. Drinking her coffee with presence, walking to work with a sense of belonging, smiling at a stranger, not because she was told to, but because she actually felt open. These weren't just behaviors, they were frequencies. They were coherent, clear signals sent into the field. And slowly, reality began to respond. In quantum terms, coherence is power. It's the moment your mind, your heart, and your body are no longer fighting each other, but flowing in the same direction. Emma used to think she needed to be loud to get the universe's attention. That if she just visualized harder, chanted longer, believed more forcefully, maybe something would finally shift. But now, she was learning that coherence doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply is. When your thoughts are aligned with your emotions, and your emotions are reflected in your actions, your signal becomes clear like a laser cutting through fog. And the field, that intelligent mirror of reality, responds not to effort, but to clarity. Emma's old self had been fragmented. She would say she wanted abundance, but feel fear in her chest. She'd write about love, but brace herself for rejection. She'd act polite, but carry resentment. The result was static, mixed signals the field couldn't interpret. But now, with each small act of coherence, her vibration began to stabilize. She no longer needed to chase the future. She was embodying it. And then, something interesting began to happen. Not with fireworks, not with fanfare, but in quiet synchronicities. A recruiter emailed her out of the blue about a job she hadn't applied for. A stranger struck up a conversation at a coffee shop that felt strangely aligned. Little signs, gentle confirmations, like breadcrumbs from the field saying, "We hear you. Keep going." Emma didn't panic or overanalyze. She stayed present. She kept tuning, and every time she chose trust over tension, stillness over rush, she noticed life started to meet her halfway. These weren't lucky moments. They were coherent responses to a clear frequency. And this is the part most people miss. Manifestation isn't magic. It's physics. When you're aligned, truly aligned, the field doesn't need to be convinced. It reflects. Not eventually. Not someday. But the moment your signal becomes stable enough to hold what you've been asking for, then came the moment that tested everything she had been practicing. The recruiter called. The job wasn't just good, it was aligned. Better pay, creative freedom, a supportive team, and room to grow. It was everything Emma had dreamed of while sitting in her cramped apartment, journaling in the quiet hours before sunrise. But the moment she hung up the phone, her chest tightened, her breath caught. The old voice rose again. "You're not qualified. You'll mess this up. This is too big for you." It was the frequency of her former self-fear, self-doubt, unworthiness echoing through her nervous system. And in the past, that voice would have won. She would have found a reason to say no, to play it safe, to stay exactly where she was and call it practical. But not this time. Emma paused. She closed her eyes. She breathed slowly, deeply until her body softened and her mind quieted. Then she asked herself a simple question. What would the version of me who belongs in this job do? And in that silence, she knew. That version would say yes. That version wouldn't wait for permission. She'd walk in the door already resonating with the room. So Emma said yes, not because she was fearless, but because she chose to act from the frequency of trust, not the residue of fear. When she stepped into that new office for the first time, something clicked, not because the job was perfect, but because she had become someone who could hold it. Emma didn't manifest the opportunity by forcing the universe to give her something. She tuned herself into someone who was ready to receive it. She didn't chase the outcome. She matched the signal, and the field had no choice but to reorganize around it. What Emma realized next was even more powerful. Saying yes to the opportunity wasn't the final step. It was just one note in the larger song of becoming. Because tuning isn't a one-time shift. It's a lifestyle, a daily practice of choosing alignment again and again. Every thought, every breath, every response to life is a chance to tune or detune. The field doesn't ask for perfection. It simply responds to consistency. Emma began to understand that the real transformation wasn't the job or the external change, it was who she had become to meet it. And becoming didn't require proof. It didn't need a sign. It simply asked her to live as if the dream life was already true. Not in a forced, performative way, but in the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are. There were days when nothing on the outside looked different. No magical breakthroughs, no glowing miracles. But inside, everything had shifted. One morning, about 3 months into her tuning, Emma walked into a coffee shop, ordered her usual, and smiled at the barista not because she was in a good mood, not because something amazing had just happened, but because she felt enough. For the first time in years, her worth wasn't tied to what she achieved or proved. It simply was. And that moment, that quiet, ordinary moment of peaceful self-acceptance, that was the real quantum leap. Not a grand explosion, not a dramatic sign, just the feeling that she had stopped chasing and started being. That's the power of tuning your frequency. You begin to live from the inside out. And when your inner world stabilizes, the outer world catches up in ways you could never predict. Becoming is quiet. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't beg for recognition. It moves silently beneath the surface, shaping your choices, softening your breath, anchoring you in the present moment. Not because life is perfect, but because you are aligned. Emma began to see that true becoming doesn't start when things fall into place. It begins when you stop waiting for things to change and start living like the change is already here. She wasn't chasing anymore. She wasn't waiting for the universe to deliver some proof. She became the proof. It showed up in the way she said no to people who drained her energy not out of anger, but out of self-respect. It showed up in how she budgeted her money, not with panic, but with presence. It showed up in how she breathed through moments of anxiety instead of spiraling. She grounded. These weren't loud changes, but they were seismic. Each one shifted her frequency, and the field noticed. Because here's the deeper truth you are always manifesting, not just when you're meditating or visualizing, but in the ordinary moments. When you're washing dishes, talking to a friend, responding to a challenge. Every breath, every thought, every emotion is a signal, And the field, this intelligent, unseen matrix that surrounds you, is always listening. So the question is never, is it working? The question is, what am I broadcasting right now? Emma stopped needing evidence that her life was changing. She became the evidence. She lived as if her future self was already here, because in the quantum field, she was And that decision to act from the version of her who already had what she used to crave collapsed time. It shortened the distance between possibility and reality. So if you've been wondering when things will finally shift, maybe the real question is, when will you stop chasing and start tuning? When will you stop broadcasting fear and begin embodying trust, not in theory, but in the way you breathe, speak, walk, and choose? Because tuning isn't passive. It's not about waiting. It's about alignment. It's a declaration, a frequency. And the moment you stabilize that frequency, the world around you starts to match it. As Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it, the quantum field responds not to what we want. It responds to who we are being, not who you pretend to be when you close your eyes, but who you are in your smallest moments. The field doesn't hear your words, it feels your vibration. And that vibration comes from the emotions you embody, the thoughts you nurture, the actions you repeat. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." These aren't just poetic ideas, they are physics. And when you shift your frequency, when your internal state begins to reflect the reality you wish to experience, then, and only then, does that reality become accessible. Not because it was created from scratch, but because it was already there, waiting for you to match it. So take a moment now. Breathe. Feel into the version of you who doesn't chase, who doesn't doubt, who doesn't contract in fear. Feel the one who already knows, who already trusts. That version is not far away. It lives in you now, waiting, listening, tuning. Type it into the field if it helps anchor it. I choose frequency. Not because a comment changes your life, but because declaring a signal is an act of resonance. It's saying to the field, I'm done with noise. I'm done with chasing. I'm becoming, and I'm ready. There's a version of you already encoded in the quantum field. Not a fantasy, not a wish, a real frequency. One that doesn't chase, doesn't doubt, doesn't shrink. One that walks with clarity, speaks with calm, chooses from love, not fear. That version of you is not waiting on the outside. It's waiting for you to tune in. And tuning isn't about perfection. You'll have days where the signal feels scrambled, when fear shows up again, when you slip into old thoughts, old reactions. That's okay. The field doesn't respond to how flawless you are. It responds to how consistent you become. Every time you return gently, honestly, patiently, you strengthen the signal. You collapse more of the space between where you are and who you're becoming. Emma's story is still unfolding. Yours is too. But what changed her life wasn't a miracle moment. It was the shift from effort to energy, from chasing to tuning. And that shift is available to you right now, not tomorrow, not when you finally get it right, but in this breath, this choice, this moment. So pause. Feel into the signal you're sending. Let your nervous system soften. Let your breath slow down. Let your body remember what it feels like to trust. Because the moment you tune your frequency, the field begins to move, subtly, softly, precisely. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. You just have to become a match for it. You just have to tune. And when you do, reality always responds. Stop chasing. Start tuning your frequency. That's where everything begins. If this message stirred something in you, if a part of you whispered, "This is what I've been needing to hear," then don't keep it to yourself. Like it, Share it. Let it reach someone else who might be stuck in the chase, forgetting their power to tune. And if you'd like more moments like this, gentle, grounded, and real, subscribe and join this space we're creating together. A space where we don't force reality, we tune into it.